I grind for the love of the game. If we roast your team, we mean no disrespect. We grind for the love of the game. NBA deadline looms. Calls for a temperature check.
It's getting cold in here, that's for sure. It's wintertime in the NBA and wintertime on the Projecting the Jump podcast. Misleading.
So we're going to roll right into the West. So just to kind of give you a reminder. So this is the team motivation temperature check. So we went through every team's first round pick, got an idea of if they own their own pick, if there's swap rights to another team, the level of motivation that a team has to push it versus their need to tank if they're hovering that line. So this is just a pre-trade deadline temperature check. We wanted to give the layout of the lands in general. And shout out to Bobby Marks. He had an article drop about the NBA trade deadline that was used for this piece a little bit. And it dropped as I was kind of going through this. And it was a reminder, 13 teams have either traded or swapped their 2026 first round pick. So let's go to the West. I'm looking forward to this one, Litke. Let's talk about Memphis. They have one of the more complex first round pick situations. Essentially, I believe the Grizzlies have their own pick and the less favorable of the Suns Wizards pick. There are a bunch of protections, but tearing it down to the nubs pre-deadline is not completely out of the question because they do have their own pick and they have this other pick coming. They're kind of lingering around as... I want to start here. I want to start with Ja Morant. Is he low-key in the Trae Young realm of, sure, we'll take him off your hands, but we're not going to give you a superstar haul for him? Is he closer to that Trae Young level right now where why would they want to mortgage their future for a player who doesn't seem like you can really build around unless you want to sell jerseys? So let's start with Ja Morant and what you feel like his trade value would be. Kind of put yourself in that fan base's shoes that would be getting him. What would you want to give up for Ja Morant?
Yeah, it's so hard because if this was 5 years ago, he's probably going for multiple first-round picks.
No
even
doubt.
If I'm not even saying the player 5 years ago. I'm just saying the situation with with all the new cap holds and everything like that. That it's tough. It's tough to swallow that much years on a contract at $43 million a year at this point.
Yeah.
I just don't know how much positive value he really has,
right.
which is a bummer because he's a really great player on the court. But it's like you have to balance: is he worth that much? Is his contract worth that much? And I don't think it is. I think he's kind of in that new negative contract a little bit. So I'm very curious to see who goes for him. Mm-hmm. It's a really risky all-in move.
Super risky.
And, I don't begrudge the Grizzlies for kind of making that call and kind of going for it.
No, I agree. So let's get over to one of the most intriguing names on the market, Jaren Jackson Jr., JJJ. His max extension includes 2 years, over $50 million, and a player option for a third. That contract is set to end in 2030. This is a player that I love, but he always kind of leaves you wanting more in fantasy and in real life. So what's the rub here? I mean, he is a versatile player. I think we all enjoy watching JJJ play, but he started kind of slow this year. He started to round back into form. So from the Grizzlies' perspective and from another team's perspective, is he a player that financially you want to build your team around?
I think build your team around, that word's a little tough there. But as far as get on your team, I think can he be the second best player at that salary on a championship team? I think in the right build, yes. I thought it was really interesting. I was listening to Ben Golliver's podcast, GOAT, earlier this week, and he was talking about the Trae Young trade, and he made I thought he just summed it up really well, and I think it also applies. It's one of these things I think you just get kind of swept under the rug, because it applies to Morant, it applies to JJJ to a lesser extent, but he kept saying, everybody is saying Trae Young's in the prime of his career at 27 years old. But people's primes are different. And Trae Young at 27 is past his prime. Ja Morant at 26. Honestly, he's probably past his prime. Now JJJ
because his game is
25 or 26, right?
Yeah, I want to say.
And I think his shot blocking can go down a little bit, but I think that he has a little bit more longevity just with his style of play, just because due to his size, his outside shooting, that I think that I'd be quite a bit more comfortable trading for him, and I would think he's a very serious positive asset.
Yeah, I think so as well. The number is pretty high. So overall, Memphis, it's a hard situation to prognosticate for fantasy because we don't know who's going out, we don't know what's coming back in, and their rotation is already confusing. They already have a glut of guys who are borderline holds at different times, must roster at other times. I'm looking at you, Santi Aldama. You can put up these tantalizing lines and then put up a dud. For the most part, he's being held, and then Cam Spencer, Wells has really kind of fallen off as maybe the guy in that rotation. And then your boy
Vince
Colin
Williams
Cowherd
has fallen out. Oh, right.
So Vince Williams has fallen out. He was putting up some numbers for a minute. G.G. Jackson, who I used to love, he's fun, is apparently terrible. I don't know. So Memphis is super confusing.
G.G. Jackson, who was notable as making Bill Simmons' top 75 highest trade values. Yes, he did. I was like, at the time, I was like, really? We've seen like 5 good weeks of G.G. Jackson.
Is it all because of that lovable interview we had with Inside the NBA after that Minnesota-Memphis game? You remember that?
That's right.
He did. He was he was super lovable, and Shaq was like, I love this guy. I like this guy. That's my dude.
Yeah, he hit like 11 threes or something in that game.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he hit a bunch of threes. So, fun player, but I don't know. Any takeaways with Memphis? What direction do you see this going? What would you recommend? Let's put a bow on a very confusing situation and move to another West spot.
Yeah, I think like you texted earlier, I think the tank is incoming. I think it's definitely happening. The hard thing about Memphis is that I think that they really are. I think they have arguably the deepest bench in the entire NBA.
I know.
Their starters are so sus that it's really dragging them down. I mean, they're even with all this turmoil, having a terrible season. They're 10th in the West, having a terrible season. So I think the hard part is going to be. There's going to be a tank, and then you're going to have 9 guys just playing equal minutes, and it's just going to be grabbing the hot hands. I think the only advice that I really feel like I can offer is, especially to the listeners that have listened to back-to-back pods, is maybe you're sleepy. Maybe you need a little caffeine boost. And if that's the case, I would suggest going over to steelbridgecoffee.com/PTJ and getting yourself 4 pounds of premium, organically certified coffee there. It's fair trade, and you're going to get that delivered to your door. No shipping costs, no handling fees. It's the great deal. Fantastic coffee, great, tastes awesome, and it's going to give you that caffeine boost that you need to make it through the second half of this podcast to help you win your league.
Woo! Sick. Beautiful. That was a beautiful read. So Steelbridge Coffee, shout out. That was well done. What a pro. You've seen the man progress over these years, and so one day is the Steelbridge Coffee drop compilation. We're gonna have to throw that together one of these days for the people. The people demand it. The people demand it. Okay, so we'll move on from Memphis. Interesting situation. It's just really hard to know how that one's gonna go, but I think we're leaning tank because they own their own pick, and it's been a jumbled mess for a long time. Okay. I don't really want to talk about this one, but we're going to talk about the LA Clippers briefly.
Ugh.
Yeah,
briefly.
So most people know that the Zombies of OKC get the most favorable of their own pick, Houston, and the Clippers. The Clippers do not control their own pick until 2030. By the way, the Zombies of OKC also get the Sixers pick, which is top 4 protected. That's for another part of the pod, or maybe no part ever.
Jeez.
So yeah, good Lord. The damage of building the contender that never was, that never reached a final, will be felt for many years to come. So I guess they might as well keep on pushing. Do they keep buying? I don't really think there's much to sell. So not much to talk about here from a fantasy perspective. You got anything for the people on this? What do you see?
The only thing I have is a question for you. So,
yeah.
I mean, as you just outlined, they're going to continue to push, whether... right now they're in the 11th spot. They have all the incentive in the world to just try to make the play-in, try to make the 8th seed. Their tanking is not an option for this year or next year, so winning is the only thing you can try to do.
Okay. What's the question before? Let's talk about Kawhi.
My question is...
Oh, God.
Would you, if you are trade, would you try to target or for the number 7 overall player in the entire NBA this season...
Kawhi
Leonard. I'm going to throw at you a couple potential options. So, let's say you roster this guy. Would you trade him for Kawhi Leonard?
Let's play.
And I'm going to start high and then move low. So, once again, to remind you, Kawhi Leonard's the number 7 overall player in total value, not per game value.
So this is to acquire Kawhi. Would I move this guy if I rostered him to acquire Kawhi, the fun guy?
Correct, yeah.
Let's
22, Julius Randle.
Yes, I would trade Julius for Kawhi.
Okay. Number 31, Jalen Brunson.
No, I would not trade Jalen Brunson for Kawhi Leonard. And we're doing 9-cat, right? Just to be clear for the people.
Yeah,
9-cat. Yep.
Number 37, Dyson Daniels.
Man, I love his new role right now. He's so fun. He's getting dimes up the wazoo. He's been their playmaker, without Trey, more than I expected. That's a tough one. I love Dyson Daniels. If you asked me a month ago, that's a no-brainer. I probably still make the trade because the Clippers have all the incentives to push, and Kawhi's looked great, but that would be a difficult one. But ultimately, yeah, I think I would trade Dyson Daniels for Kawhi.
Okay, and then I'm guessing, I know your answer here, number 40, Peyton Pritchard.
Oh, hell yeah, that's easy. Definitely,
okay.
I'd rather have Kawhi.
So what I'm reading is, from these responses, if the owner in your league is looking to sell high on Kawhi,
right,
you'd be okay buying it at a reasonable price.
You asked me these questions in a vacuum, and my answers are honest and they're forthcoming. And then you put it like that, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, am I going to go make a offer? I have Julius Randle. Am I going to go offer him for Kawhi? No, probably not. It's just difficult to take. It's difficult to be the one who's proactive. Now, if I get an offer in my inbox and I open it, that feels a little different. Am I going to go out and spend my free time?
It sounds like you got a little muted there. I'm not hearing you. Yeah, so, I mean, that's... Flyin J just dropped out there. I don't know if are you back right now?
I'm back, baby.
Okay, yeah. I hear you. That does feel a little bit different to be like on that rather than pushing the trade and kind of trying to convince it rather than making that like fine, I guess I'd do it.
That's the psychology to this stuff, isn't it? Yeah, I would feel different if I received the offer. I'm not going to proactively seek it out, but man, Kawhi looks awesome. He looks just motivated. It looks like it could be that last great season in his prolific Hall of Fame career. That last benchmark year. I didn't know he had another year like this in him necessarily. Did you? So.
Yeah.
All right. That's enough Clippers talk. Yeah. Yeah. No, shout out to you if you drafted him. You drafted him in the right year. It's playing ring around the rosy to know what year is the right year to draft Kawhi Leonard. But you nailed it this year. All right, Litke. We're going down south. We're going to Dallas. 15-25 is their current record. Dallas Mavericks own their own pick outright this season. Next season, in 2027, their first-round pick is only top 2 protected. It was a part of the deal to acquire P.J. Washington, which helped them get to a finals. But that pick's going to Charlotte if it's not top 2. So that's pretty clear. So the Anthony Davis dilemma. So he's $62 million player option in 27 feels like a long time. Feels like an eternity if you're a Mavericks fan. Rich Paul, his brash agent, is chirping to the media now about wanting a trade. And of course, Anthony Davis is injured, as he usually is. So this one's confusing. What are you reading on the market for Anthony Davis? And if you're a Mavericks fan, clearly you're hoping they can find a deal, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you would trade for Anthony Davis. I mean, I think
no doubt.
it's such a tightrope of success if you trade for him. I mean, on one hand, you trade for him, let's say he opts into that player option, and then you're paying a guy $62 million who's rarely available, and that's a pretty rough outcome. The flip side is you trade for a player, he wants that extension immediately, you don't offer it to him, and then he walks away. And so you just traded all these assets for nothing. I mean, I just can't see it. I don't know why you would trade. It's so rare for a player to be worth that much money these days. I mean, there's probably 5 players in the league that are worth that, and he certainly is not one.
Yeah. So they got rid of the GM, but hey, congratulations to Mavs fans because you got Cooper Flagg. He looks like a complete smash as the first overall pick.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the interesting thing for me is I'm curious to see.
Yeah.
I mean, because we're talking about basically teams that are going to miss the playoffs, or we are theorizing will be, and so kind of projecting what their tank looks like a little bit, because not all tanks are created equal, and so the Mavs are probably, like you said, have all the incentive of the world to get another piece to build around Cooper Flagg, but at the same time, you also want to prioritize Cooper Flagg's development,
right?
And so it's going to be interesting to see where they thread that line, because I mean, I think rolling him out with a bunch of scrubs, I don't know if that prioritizes his development. And so I guess what I'm looking for is all those auxiliary pieces around Cooper Flagg. Who of them are hold? Who of them are guys that you're comfortable targeting, comfortable like sitting on if they're on a like PJ Washington, for instance, is an example, or Daniel Gafford. They're out for 4 or 5 games. Do you hold them thinking that they're going to try to move them to rush them back? Or sometimes you see on these tanking teams, somebody, whatever, like, stubs a toe, and they're like, ooh, 7, 8 games or whatever. So, I mean, I guess I'm curious to hear from you what you think this tank, what the rest of the season looks like.
Moderate tank. I think it's not even historically or traditionally in the Dallas Mavericks DNA to outwardly tank. I mean, they haven't been that bad since the mid-90s when they got the Jamal Mashburn, Jim Jackson, Jason Kidd picks. I don't think they've been outwardly tanking in a long time. They haven't really tore it down to the stubs in quite some time. And you're right, the infrastructure, you want to be healthy. So I'm sure they'd be happy with the 10th pick or whatever. At what point do you just say, heck, this team's coming together a little bit and let's just push? So this is a tough one for the Mavericks. And as far as their auxiliary pieces,
Kyrie coming back.
With Kyrie coming back, exactly. So the pieces are confusing. I think Najee Marshall is a clear hold right now. He's putting up really nice lines, especially when AD's out, and so now AD's out.
Number 81 player on the season.
Yeah, he's killing it. Najee Marshall looks great. Nobody on this podcast will ever advise you to drop PJ Washington. So he's a clear hold.
It's in our contract.
It's in our it is, yeah, exactly. They make us drink decaf. Steelbridge makes us drink decaf for a month if we drop PJ Washington. That's in the fine print. You know what? Okay. Yeah. Other than that, like, is there anyone else that's like Gafford to me, he's a little annoying. I mean, if it's 170 or shallower, it's like he's a streamer for me. And then if you get him in the right chunk where he's actually playing, then you keep him. But he's been a little hard to navigate.
Yeah, I think he's transitioned over to where I think in a regular season he's a hold. I think he's, like you said, a stream on healthy weeks, and then you just chuck them. Exactly.
Okay, so that is Dallas. Now let's head over to where the ales are 3% by volume no matter what you get, and you can't get a mimosa on a Sunday morning, and that's Salt Lake City. That's a personal experience I've actually had. Utah, the Jazz sit at 14-25. They've had this super fun breakup from Keontae George, kind of taking center stage.
Yeah,
looking like an all-star. So their pick situation in Utah is top 8 protected. Can you guess who gets their pick if it falls out of the top 8? It's not a hard game.
The one team that gets everybody's picked. They're just still like magnetism for picks. OKC Thunder.
That's correct. So yeah, if it's top 8 protected. So interesting. They also do hold swap rights with Minnesota and Cleveland, but I don't think they'll be needing that. So it's been a fun season, man. But again, we're threatened with the lottery balls over in Utah. These are historically great tankers. They have a clear line to stay below. So what say you out in Utah? You can kind of see some of the signs. I mean, I didn't see the fourth quarter, but I think Nurkic was a non-announced healthy scratch today. I know because I had him in some stuff, and yeah, he just didn't see the court. So they're already getting weird over in Utah.
Yeah, I was reminded from my time living in Utah, I had totally blocked this out, but I was just hanging out with some friends, and Nathan Yoder reminded me that there was one point, and this was pre-smartphones. We had bought tickets when we lived there to a Jazz game, and waited and waited, and then whoever we bought them from just took their time sending them. And they arrived a few days after the game, so we just didn't go to the game.
Oh my God.
It's back when you needed physical tickets to get into a place.
Right, you're just waiting for them to arrive via mail.
Right, yeah. But
just age yourself.
Yeah, so that was, I had forgotten about that. But I think the interesting thing about the Jazz is, first off, they're a fun watch right now. That is new this season.
They're a fun watch. They're a great League Pass team, dude. Top 5, maybe. I love watching the Jazz.
Absolutely. I mean, they play really hard. They're very competitive this season. Yeah. I mean, they get a lot of competitive losses that are actually pretty great and strategic, like you're mentioning. Sometimes some fourth quarter, shenanigans that are kind of.
My boy Isaiah Collier will help with that. I love Collier, but yeah, he kind of mucks stuff up. He's kind of like the next Kevin Porter Jr.
I'm about to bring him up here in a second. But I think the other thing that was interesting, I've noticed with Utah, personally, I don't know if you've been on this too, is I feel like Vegas still hasn't been able to put the overs high enough when Markkanen plays. The overs are high.
Yeah.
And they're always scary.
It's not high enough.
They're 12 points higher than the next guy's game.
No, you look at him, and I do move. Have you been on those? Because I kind of move on. I'm like,
I hit them occasionally, but I'm often terrified because it's like you're like 247. Like
they get
the next
wild,
game's
bro.
230.
Yeah.
But they just keep hitting, which I think for me the other kind of actionable takeaway from that is outside of betting is it's a great team to target streamers against. If you're looking between player A and player B and player C, and one of them is playing the Jazz, there's just so many possessions, so much scoring opportunity that's a great streaming opportunity.
Dude, streaming against the Jazz, yeah, that's a low key nugget. I'm gonna go ahead and mark clip. That's a good one. Did you see Bryce Sensible's line tonight?
No, I did not.
He had like 35 points before we came on to record. The game wasn't quite over. So just like, man. So here's my takeaway with Utah. It's more of a question style takeaway. Are they too good to? I mean, I think how did they toe that line to where they get the 6th pick? Like they're just a little too good at this point and too healthy of a culture. And you have this breakout. I mean, Keontae George is playing good enough to be on the All NBA 3rd team if they stay competitive. So so where's the rub? I mean, do you really think the shenanigans are going to get that rough? It's funny, I found myself in the Keontae George player chat today, and somebody was like, they're about to tank, I'm going to trade him, and I just comment and I go, imagine playing scared. But just, so that's where the boys are at, let's just say that. That's the temperature check from the boys on Keontae George. Now, where do you land with him and just the Jazz in general? Are they tearing this thing down to the nubs one last time, or is it too healthy a culture?
I think we've seen this the last 2 years of them just blowing the win total projection out of the water the first half of the season, and then them just getting just so belligerently great at tanking the second half of the season.
Belligerent.
I heard Markkanen Markkanen's not playing more than 10 games the second half of the season. I mean, they're going to they're going to shut him down a little bit.
I feel bad for Larry Markkanen. He would be a superstar if he was just playing for a team that would stop tanking.
Right. Yes. Yeah, and you would like to hope that this potentially is their last dip into this. But I mean, like you said, there's all the incentive in the world, right, to make it a real tank. They can't
one last
half tank this year because they can't get the 9 pick. And be like, okay, well, let's see if we can it's a deep draft. We'll get kind of lucky. Right. No, if you get the 7th pick,
heavy.
It's not yours. Like, you have to get there.
And there are 3 freaking prizes at the top of this draft.
Yes, yeah. So it's a great draft, and so you have to do it. And, and they've gotten really unlucky with some ping pong balls in the most recent years. I mean, I think they're going to do it. And what do we do the rest of the season off of that? I mean, I think, first off, you mentioned Isaiah Collier. I think he's actually available in the vast majority of leagues. I know I kind of am now viewing 33% as the real number for roster ability.
Could be even lower, but that's a nice adjustment, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that basically if you're rostering Trey Jones, Giddey and Kobe White are about to come back. He's a great pivot. You go from Trey Jones to Isaiah Collier. You're getting a lot of those same numbers. You're getting those assists, 10 and 8 over the last month. The other thing that I was looking at him doing a little bit deeper dive is, he's normally playing minutes around 19, 20, but in games where he's played north of 25 minutes, he's averaging 1.6 stocks. So if he actually were to get opportunity, then all of a sudden he becomes a little bit more well-rounded of a player than his 210 rank would show you.
Yeah, that's a nice little nugget. Yeah, I love his game fit for fantasy. And I guess I was being a little tongue-in-cheek when I compared him to Kevin Porter Jr., but there's a little bit of that, and he's kind of he needs to improve his shooting, and he loves just kind of driving into the lane. He's got a little bit of that Eric Bledsoe kind of bully ball into the lane and stuff, and the offense can look a little different when he's out there, and I don't always like the look of it as much as when he's not, but he's still young, and I think he's figuring it out, and guards can take a while, and he's very talented. So yeah, he's a great shout-out. He's available in a lot of leagues. I picked him up and had him for a while with Keontae George. Depending on the depth of your league, you might just want to go ahead and pick up and stash Isaiah Collier.
Yeah, for sure. That's that's a good one. I think you said it well. The only last nugget I have for the Jazz is if Kevin Love, if you happen to know he's going to start, that's a decent single-day stream.
That's a dirty Sunday stream where you need 6 rebounds and free throw percentage from a big spot.
1 every 7 games. It's like he just saves it, spends it all in one game, and then is just spent for the next 10 games. And so if you could see that game coming, if you see like, oh, okay, they're sitting so and so, they're sitting 2 or 3 other guys, and you get that notification that they're going to start Kevin Love. That's not a bad Saturday or Sunday stream.
That's the most Litke nugget ever. Hey man, just make sure you wait till one of the 4 Sundays this season when Kevin Love's starting on a Sunday, because you can grab yourself 7 boards, 2 threes, and a really nice Just for Men gel beard. Looks like we lost Litke. He's just kidding, still here. Unfortunately, no.
I feel really good about it. That's true.
Okay.
Can I give you out the door on the Jazz? Can I give you a player comp for Isaiah Collier?
I would love it.
Jared Bayless.
He was a better shooter, but I like it as far as in general the way he orchestrates offense. That's not bad. Jared Bayless was a heck of a shooter though, so that's the only difference there. But that's kind of good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. That's a fun comp. Okay, let's do this. I think let's go. We got to go to Sacramento. We got to go to Sacramento, Litke. So. We're recording here on the 14th of January. The Kings are 10-30, awaiting the results of the game against the Knicks, which was still going on when we hopped in to record. But even prior to that, and they were beating the Knicks, they had won 2 straight games since Doug Christie dusted off Malik Monk. The Kings do own their own pick outright, which is cool. So I think a complete fire sale of vets seems like the only sensible path. So I'm sure they'll keep their powder completely dry. Let's play a quick game, Litke. Name a player, and this is kind of a subjective game, but name a player known to be available on the trade market for a long time that feels like a Kang waiting to happen. Who's gonna be a Kang? It's got to happen.
That's true. So, outside of Vucevic, who feels too low-hanging fruit?
Yeah, it's a younger player, a strained asset.
LaMelo?
Not that big a fruit. Younger player, strained asset. Strained asset.
John Morant.
No. We're talking the cum bucket here. Jonathan.
Oh, no.
That's a different type. Jonathan Kuminga, okay? Let's keep it clean. Kyle Kuz. That's disgusting. No, Jonathan Kuminga. That feels like a king waiting to happen, am I right?
It does, yeah. There's some great hollow numbers that could happen there.
It would be beautiful. Another player I'd love to see in Sacramento is Tari Eason. Find his way over to the Beam team, 30 minutes on a higher usage role. They do have some smaller contracts. Like finding a player like that to target, like a younger player where the team has other plans, those kind of on the fringes moves would be really smart. I don't know if they're going to make them.
That's a smart deal, yeah.
I know they're kind of boring. Like, what's your anticipation with what they do with Levine, DeRozan? Eventually, when Sabonis comes back, they finally have a beautiful tank right in front of them. It's available. Is it going to happen?
Yeah, it's tough. They've shown so much dysfunction the last handful of years that it's hard to project any amount of rational decisions that are going to happen. I mean,
facts.
I think the one trade they made, which I feel like has not garnered headlines, but it was when they did the sign trade for DeRozan. They just casually threw in unprotected pick swap with San Antonio in 2031. I mean, that was just brutal. Casually thrown in there. To a team with Webb that's clearly going to be in the top of the draft, you just throw in a pick swap. I mean, just out of nowhere. And they gave away Harrison Barnes. But
so cavalier of them. So not the Cleveland Cavaliers, but that's so brash. It's like they're like, in 2031 we're definitely going to be in the finals, so it's chill.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to try to predict. I have no idea what they're going to do, but I do agree with your take of I do think it's showcase time. You would think that right now until the trade deadline, it is the opportunity to give those vets all the runway they can, especially Malik Monk. I mean, he's had a good couple games. Mm-hmm. You have Schroeder out because, he tried to fight Luka, which, that's kind of funny. So you give Malik Monk all the runway because he probably is. I guess, here's another question to you. Between player and the contract, between Levine, DeRozan, Schroeder, and Malik Monk, who's the most tradable out of that? And Sabonis. I'll put Sabonis in there too.
Well, it depends what you want. I want to start by saying that until they finally dusted off Malik Monk, they were just demolishing an asset on a bad team. It's one thing for the Warriors to demolish the Kuminga asset, which we've talked about before on this pod and just between the two of us. When they knew that wasn't going to work, they should have traded him, and instead they exposed their hands that they didn't care for Kuminga. So we go to Sacramento. Everyone loved Malik Monk. He was a fan favorite. They had the Kentucky connection with Fox. All of a sudden, Doug Christie this year just decides he doesn't want to play him. Keon Ellis as well. Keon Ellis looks great in spurts, and then he just doesn't play at all. And that's why I went so hard on the Russell Westbrook take, and a lot of Kings fans, you had some issues with that, and we clipped it for a little fun, sensational clip. What I was saying was, unless if you're showcasing Russell Westbrook for a trade, which then you're galaxy-brained and you were ahead of the game the whole time, and we're just small peons and we didn't really see what was happening. That would be great. If you can flip, what would be the ultimate Kings triumph is if Russell Westbrook is the best trade asset out of all the players you asked me about. Because you didn't even mention him.
Yes.
That's
true.
So I'll take it this way before I ask you a question about that. Malik Monk, I think, is objectively my personal favorite asset as far as contract, age of the player, skill set of the player, malleability, and as far as how he can fit into various schemes. He's my preferred asset. DeMar DeRozan is my favorite player for a contender who's just looking for another guy who can get a bucket. I would love to see DeRozan as the fourth option on a really sound team, on a really solid team, who comes in and just, he gets to the line and he gets buckets when you need him to. I look forward to the part of DeRozan's career where he plays 24 minutes a game. I think that'll be really an interesting player.
Super sub, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any of these Kings that you would, if offered a trade for any of them in fantasy, that you're not immediately knocking 40 ranking points off their value when looking at comparable trades?
Well, personally, I would give up a top 20 player for Zach LaVine if I was in Extreme Jones.
In this particular league, yeah. In this one particular league, but yeah.
But other than that, no, not really. I mean, Sabonis looked like a lame duck pick to me. Sorry, James Robinson. Love you, J-Rob. But that was not a player I was targeting in drafts. I didn't like this situation. He didn't look great last year after the LaVine trade. And then it turns out, you haven't had him for the whole year. So he's a sunk asset at this point. I mean, you hold on to him, hope for the best, but I would never trade for him. I guess, I don't know. If somebody wants to get rid of him so bad, but they've held this long. So, again, it's always about price. I mean,
according to the Kings, their kind of fan website, which I think is the best name ever for a fan website, considering the franchise, a royal pain.
Oh, that's really good.
That's
really good.
He's practicing again,
so he really good.
Theoretically should be back on the court for good or for bad soon.
Okay, let's play a game. Let's play. I'm gonna turn to you and I'm gonna name some players, and you tell me if you would trade this player to acquire Sabonis. Okay, we're gonna start with Donovan Clingan, Portland.
Man, you're making it challenging right off the bat. This is
well, for that to be that hard of a question shows you how far his value's fallen from draft day.
His value has really fallen. Clingan, I think, is going to be playing. I'm going to say...
You're holding your powder.
I really don't want Sabonis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'll do it. I would do that trade. Jeez, I don't feel good about it, though.
You would move Clingan for Sabonis, I know, right?
I would, and I would feel terrible about it. The center for center is hard.
It is hard. It's fun sometimes. We in our league of record, the new Yoder, shout out, KY Yoder. Kent. We had a center for center swap. I acquired Clingan, he acquired Miles Turner. He offered the trade. I don't know. But yeah, those positional swaps can be kind of fun challenge trades. And so that's why I'm going to throw out a couple more centers here. Big man eligible players. He just had a huge game recently against the Suns. But would you trade Bam Adebayo to get back Sabonis and a Dylan Brooks level player, a top 80 wing?
No, I'm going to hold on to Bam. I think Bam. Yeah, I think he just plays so many games. I feel really comfortable with that, and I feel like I can stream in a top 80 guy if I get lucky.
Okay, say you have a glutton of guards, and you kind of need a big. So this is a situational situation. This is a theoretical situation, right? Okay, so you're looking for a big, and you got a lot of guards. Would you be willing to move Stephon Castle for Sabonis?
Wow,
that's where his range is. It's kind of where his range is.
Yeah, that's good. That's a really good offer. I think if I was high in the standings, I would do it. If I was low in the standings, I would not do it.
Let's go back to Boston. Would you move Peyton Pritchard for Sabonis right now? You have to do the trade today.
I want Pritchard.
You want Pritchard, yeah. we're going to end here because it's just a fun way to end. And I know that you were right, since you mentioned the value of De'Aaron Fox, and it might be a good time to actually sell low. It's been a decent call by you. Would you trade De'Aaron Fox to go get Sabonis?
Oh, that's a fun one.
Yeah, right.
That is a fun. That is a good way to offer. No, I still think Fox is.
Hell
Fox
yeah.
plays. You got to take Fox.
He certainly plays. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So interesting one. Yeah. Anyway, Sacramento's interesting. That Caldwell kid, he's a nice little rim runner. I like the energy on him.
Yeah, he looks good. I mean, Maxime Verneau, I like his game. I think he looks good too.
He loves to do that little hook shot. He can do that many times over.
Yeah, I mean, for a
Little
rookie,
floater.
there's some hope there. They're just all buried.
Yeah. So. Okay, do you got anything else for the people on this? Is there a West team? Do you got anything maybe over in
we
Portland?
missed the team in last place that we probably need to hit.
I don't want to talk about them.
Just briefly, we got to talk about the New Orleans Pelicans.
Okay.
It's a bummer. And I think in some ways this is the most interesting team because
It is.
And I'm going to take over the Flying J role here, and they, as you probably have heard if you listen to any NBA podcast, do not own their first round pick. They traded that to New Orleans, and so what's going to be interesting is they're in last place, and how do they navigate that? What is this? They have no incentive to tank. They have all the incentive in the world to get better. How do they go about that? Is there this kind of sunk cost analysis? Do they trade off all their players right now? Do they go all in and try to be buyers? I mean, do you have a sense of what you think the second half of the season looks like for New Orleans?
No. They're just like they don't control their first round pick in a situation where you would really want to, and that's really frustrating. And you mentioned it too. I don't have it in front of me, but it was the pick to move up and go get Derek Queen, who's been a hit, but it wasn't worth that cost, and I don't think it necessarily needed to pay that, but they did, and they need to move forward. It's a very confusing roster. It's a roster that would be prime for a tank. Jeremiah Fears seems he went a little too high for me in the draft as far as what his skill set is, and I think they have other guards similar, who are shoot first, a little undersized, not great defensively. That pick confused me. Their roster's confusing. So let's start here. If you don't own your own pick and you know you're not going anywhere with the roster, they do have assets. They're not like some of these other teams we've talked about,
right,
where you're like, what do you even do? It's like if they want to sell, they certainly can. But it's a tough move. I mean, Zion's value's probably never been lower. Trey Murphy's probably the one that everybody would want. So yeah, it's a really tough situation where you're not going to be able to tank because you don't have your own pick, and you're not really going anywhere. So they're kind of stuck in this no man's land, but at least they have some talent.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and so I think what the interesting thing is going to be, so they have Trey Murphy, like you said. This is kind of mind-boggling. Trey Murphy's the number 6 player in fantasy this season. The number 6 player in fantasy on the season, which is wild.
Say it again.
And so I think that's interesting.
Say it again.
I mean, you're talking about 6. Yeah, 6. Yeah. Maybe even like somewhere
number
between
6.
6 and 7. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, you're talking about that's a big domino to fall in fantasy because I mean he has a reasonable-ish contract, $28 million a year. He's signed for 4 years. He's the type of player that could fit in any team, and so. Will he be traded? Will he be not? I don't know. I think his value would drop if he was traded, but it's hard to predict that. But I think the tank is kind of an interesting thing because I mean, you could make an argument that for them, I feel like there's this sunk cost fallacy, right? So like they already lost the pick, so like who cares what pick they give up? They're not getting it anyway.
This is the definition of sunk cost fallacy here.
For sure, yeah. And I feel like there's some argument that could be made where you say, okay, let's do everything we can to give the maximum usage to Derek Queen and to Jeremiah Fears to make it look like, well, at least these guys we got were worth it. Our roster was shit, it was going to be shit, but at least we got these great players. I don't know. So I don't think that would be. I think that's in the realm of possibilities. They're selling everybody.
Well, and that's when you get into people just making decisions to preserve their own jobs. If you're getting into public perception and stepping out and saying, okay, how will this reflect on us, just to inflate some players' numbers, then you're not team building properly. But Joe Dumars is still there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So strange.
Yeah.
And it kind of, again, it saddens me. I mean, I'm personal friends with Pierre the Pelican. We've hung out multiple times, and yeah, it seems like a lame duck NBA market, and that saddens me. It's a great community. They love their Pels, and you know, even last night we caught some of the end of the Pels. I want to say Pels Bulls game, and it was, you know, pretty empty in there. But then they did the stadium view and then see all the fans dancing. It's just a really fun group of people. It's really cool. Culturally diverse and eclectic, and it's Mardi Gras season. It's a fun place to go pay $18 to see a game, and you can do that there.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, and so yeah, I want to see them make sensible decisions. And so I guess if I were them, I would probably find a couple guys to move and go ahead and tear it down a little bit. They do outrightly own their own pick starting in 2028, 2029, and so on. 27, there's some convoluted protections. They could end up with their own pick, and there's multiple ways they don't. So
I get two more things. Three more quick things with them. Two of them points. One final hot takey question for you before we get out the door. Yeah. First off, I mean, player to watch, Jeremiah Fears. He's probably rostered in your league. He's rostered at 23%, even though he's the 287th player the last month.
His profile's just a little hollow.
It's hollow, but you know, we've seen guards kind of hit in the second half of seasons. Somebody to watch.
That's a good point. As far as just maybe it hits a different level, and that hollowness is just well worth it.
Yeah, I mean, 12, 4, and 3. That part's decent, but the other one is, and this one saddens me a lot.
All right.
Jordan Poole. I've watched a couple games recently. Boy, he's cooked. He
has that scraggly old sailor beard. He's kind of like, I'm ready to be the cool vet.
I think he's gonna be out of the league in a year. I mean, he's all like forearm shivers, deep twos, just not even looking to pass. He looks done. He looks like he's ready to be out of the league.
I don't know if he ever really started. I think that was an alternate universe. I think he was always bad, and then there was a fever dream where he was productive for fantasy for a couple years, and then we woke up.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, he was decent last year.
See, boys, I can get him to defend Poole. It doesn't take much. Didn't take much, did it?
Oh, it really didn't. It really didn't. I'm ready. All right. No, he's back. The last thing I have... Wait. I'm going to say a hot take. We'll see how much I buy it. But I want to hear your reaction to it.
Okay.
And that is... It's a fantasy advice, and I'm saying at this point, so we're halfway through the season. You're what? It's week 14. You know what your fantasy strengths are for your team. If you're doing 9-cat, you know exactly what categories you're winning, what categories you're losing, and what you're competing in. If you don't,
do a dive and kind of figure that out. Look at the roto standings in your league and kind of figure out where you are.
100%. Yeah. Stop the pod. You need to know the 2 categories you're never going to win, and the 2 or 3 categories you have on lock.
And please be looking at that information when you make trades. Don't make them like a phone shitter bro sitting on the toilet. Like, make sure you're looking at what you're targeting and how it will affect your team if the trade goes through.
Yes, and also and better yet, the best trade people, and you're better at this than me, also know how it's going to affect the other team. Because then you actually are able to say, hey, this is a win for both of us.
Right.
And you could be telling the truth rather than just straight swindling somebody.
Yeah, and that's why we like category head-to-head leagues, because it creates more avenues for trading that benefit different teams because of their builds.
Yes. So that being said, my fantasy hot take is you should go out and trade for Zion Williamson.
Oh, what the fuck? Wow.
Which is something I never thought I would say. But
okay.
the only reason I say that is he's currently rated well up into the 100s at this point. I think that there's a buy low opportunity there, not in any world, any delusional world where I think he's going to be a top 30 player. He's not. We know exactly what he's really terrible at, and we know what he's decent at. And I almost wonder if you have somebody that drafted him for the first time and is getting a little tired, and you look at your roster and you go, well, I actually don't need rebounds. Either I'm losing them or I'm winning by so much. I don't really need 3 throw percentage. I'm already losing him. Here's an opportunity to pick up a guy who's ranked at 130 that I could maybe pick up, for pennies on the dollar and could be a really good player for my situation because his minutes are now up into the low 30s. And as we just said, New Orleans was going to try to probably play and win as many games as they can. So he
recently played a back-to-back as well, so that's kind of interesting. And they're treating his minutes a little bit like Charlotte's treating the Mellows. Let's hover them in the low 30s and not risk re-injury quite as much.
Yes, yeah. Both of them came off the bench recently for a while, too. So, I don't know.
That's an interesting one. I want to ask you this about Zion before we get going. He's an interesting, you have to have a pretty unique build going to be throwing away, to not be targeting rebounds and not be targeting free throw percentage, because usually one of those will lean you one direction or the other.
Right, yeah. Yeah, you do. I mean, I think it has to be one of those things where you
can absorb it.
Yes, I'm competing in these 7 categories.
Right.
Now I'm going to compete in 6 categories. But
Yeah,
I'm going to be really good in these 6 categories.
Yeah, right, exactly. You always have the 1 to 2 categories that you want to be competitive, but if you take a hit, it's not the end of the world, because half the times you're going to get slaughtered, and half the times you'll compete in that single category.
Right, yeah.
That's an interesting one. Okay, well, we went we went an hour and 30 minutes. And so in some forms, you'll hear this as a single pod. In some forms, you will see this as 2, depending on how editing goes. Anything else? Anything on Portland? Just like a little Blazers corner. They've kind of skated a little bit. What do you think of Caleb Love? He's improved a bit. You recently used him in a metaphor for why you wouldn't want an expansion team to end up with a bunch of Caleb Loves. And that painted my image of what you thought of him as a player. Give me a little bit on Portland's kind of developmental side, some of the players on the fringes, and then any other Blazers takeaways. A little Blazers corner, please.
Yeah, Caleb Love's been great, actually. I have done a little bit of a 180 on them, and they've needed his scoring. I mean, the Blazers have been hit with injuries almost as hard as anybody else, or almost harder than anybody else in the entire league. I mean, especially losing their 3 highest paid point guard options. I mean, they've had no point guards. They haven't had Jeremy Grant. Really missing a good chunk of their scoring and ball usage. So they've needed Caleb Love, and he's been really a great scorer. So I got to tip the cap to him. I mean, I think the main takeaway when you're talking about the Blazers, and I've seen them now twice since we last recorded. I saw them play against the Pistons. That was a fun competitive game, and then we went and saw them against the Houston Rockets, and that was a great game because we were sitting in row 10.
That's beautiful. Is that the game Denny tweaked his back, or was that the next game?
No, that was the Knicks game. Yeah. But I mean, I think as far as the Blazers go, the main takeaway is that with all these point guards out, it's allowed Denny to flourish to a level that I think
it's nuts.
Even the biggest proponents of them never saw coming. I mean, I think that's and I think he kind of needed that a little bit because you saw, especially early in the season, there was a little bit of reluctance, want to be kind of that ball hog, high usage guy. You would see a lot of times he would score 2 plays in a row and he'd come down and he would just pass the ball, and they wouldn't score, and he'd be like one of those I have to take the ball, I have to score. And so I think that's been the really big development in his game, is that he's kind of, the light bulb has switched, where it's like, the team needs me to do this. It's okay to do this. They want me to do this, and I'm good at it. And that's been really cool. And the other thing,
let me ask you a couple of follow-up questions on Denny.
Please, yeah.
I have Denny Avdia related questions. I've been curious about both of these things. Number one, we kind of missed the point, but I think because Drew Holiday's been out and all this usage was funneling through him, I think he was a pretty clear sell high for a minute there. If you could go get yourself like a top 10 player. There was a certain next level of player that if you could access with Denny Avdia, I might have done that. So just a quick little revision of his history. This is my question about him moving forward. He strikes me as potentially one of these players that a team doesn't necessarily want to plan to funnel their whole offense through, and so they have these outlier seasons where, especially with assists, but just the usage in general is out the wazoo. Do you feel like Portland, moving forward, views him as their do-everything, wing who's going to have the ball in his hands most of the time? Or could this be, kind of a moment where you see what he could do if you did build that way, but a team isn't going to build a contender that way? How do you feel about Denny Avdia building a contender in this role with him?
It's a great question. the ultimate question is like, is he a one?
Right.
And I feel like coming to the season, people viewed him as a 3. And then he started playing really well, and everybody's like, you know what? He could be a 2. And then now he should make the All-Star team.
He will.
And he's looking like a 1. I mean, he's number 1 in the league in drives. I think that's one thing that we've seen, this kind of alpha skill of him, and I feel like he's unlocked the ability to get to the line. I mean, he's getting to the line almost 9 times per game, which is truly elite. It's weird because, like, I guess I have a little bit of a measured take. On one hand,
it's a hard question.
Do I think he could be the Blazers' best player? Yeah, the best player that wins, that makes it to the finals. I think I kind of do.
Damn.
But at the same time, I also think that is not how you make the finals, is by having a heliocentric player.
Right.
And I don't think he could make it as a heliocentric player because I don't think he's that good. I think if you're going to be that type of guy, you need to be Luka. You need to be You have to be such a better player than he is to do that.
You know who he is, Litke, in my opinion, same tier of player. And I've always thought he was good, but this is where I think he'll land. He's Franz Wagner. I think if you took Franz Wagner and put him in Portland in this role, Franz Wagner could put up these numbers.
And Franz Wagner is very good.
Yeah, exactly. And he plays in a kind of a usage vacuum situation we've talked about with Paolo and now Desmond Bane. But I think you want him ultimately to be a Franz Wagner level piece for building something moving forward. And I think he fits well in that sort of off-ball wing, like can funnel the offense through him, but you want another player who can also handle the usage in a similar vein. And I think that would be, if you put Franz Wagner on Portland and put Denny Avdia on Orlando, I bet their numbers would look kind of similar to what they look like in their current situations. Franz Wagner could be a facsimile to Denny.
Yeah. I mean, I think Denny's, I feel like it'd be interesting to do the numbers on him. I think he's probably just inside the top 20 for his best players in the league, but he's very good. It was interesting as far as fantasy goes, too. I mean, just because, I don't know if you remember, during the preseason, there was like this, like, at the end of last season, I was like, okay, yeah, this is going to be Denny's team. He's going to be great. I think everybody thought that. He was jumping up the ADPs. And then
he was.
And then then Chauncey, fucking Chauncey brought him off the bench all preseason.
Speaking of Chauncey, this segment is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. We download the PTJ code now, and you will get 5 free poker chips to take to... I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, he brought him off the bench all preseason, and you're like, is this real? Is this fake? Like, and his ADP just like was just tanking, and then, but sure enough, he was exactly the player that we thought he was going to be.
God, yeah. Okay. Well, I think we're gonna wrap this sucker up. That was Blazers Corner. This has been kind of a little look at. It's a preparation for figuring out motivations that teams have entering the trade deadline, and then getting into silly season. Hope you found it helpful. Please leave any questions or comments, or if you want to continue the dialogue on the YouTube in particular, we enjoy doing that. Of course, we are Projecting the Jump. We are a fantasy podcast for the people. You can find us on Twitter. We're chill guys. Go Hawks. And for Natron Clean, this is your boy, Flyin J, and we'll talk to you soon.
Go Atlanta. I agree.
Seahawks, baby. Yeah.